In the 5 years since the Hunter x Hunter 2011 series concluded, many people have given their take on what arcs in the series are the best. This isn't exclusive to Hunter x Hunter, of course, but I feel like ranking arcs is especially prominent in the Hunter x Hunter community given how varied the series feels from each consecutive arc. This is best demonstrated in the central themes that accompany each arc. The Hunter exam mostly serves as an introduction arc that introduces us to the unforgiving and apathetic world. It also communicates the idea of hunting and being hunted. Gon is hunting his father, Killua is looking for a purpose. Both Gon and Killua are hunted by Hisoka and Illumi respectively. The Heavens Arena was about Gon truly earning his license, which conveys the theme of earned progression. York New is about revenge and how much you're willing to sacrifice for it. The Chimera Ant arc explores the line between monsters and humans. And Greed Island is a commentary on growth, friendship, and an underlying message about greed. This is what makes the arcs that people prefer differ so much from person to person. Usually we come to some form of consensus that either the Chimera Ant or York New arc is the best, but after that it's anyone's game. For example, Laughingstock Media's list had the 13th Chairman arc at 6th, while AA Fan on Reddit had his at 3rd. On his list, Greed Island is ranked 6th, while on Franki's list it's ranked number 3, just to give you an idea. It's really quite fascinating how each arc can feel so distinct, yet they all come together to form a cohesive story. The one arc that consistently gets downplayed, however, is the Greed Island arc. With a straw poll of over 1,000 voters, Greed Island was ranked the 3rd worst arc with only 15 votes behind the most disliked 13th Chairman arc. To be fair, it's important to acknowledge that it was also ranked the 3rd most liked arc, ironically, but the distance between the top 2 and Greed Island is over 400 votes. This tells me that there's a small, dedicated sect of the fanbase that loves Greed Island. There were more people who actually voted for Greed Island as their least favorite arc than favorite arc. This is a lot to do with the fact that the arc is sandwiched between the 2 arcs people consider the best in the show. Greed Island is such a tonal departure from those 2 arcs, it leads people to scrutinize the arc more than it really deserves to be. It's just a basic training arc. The villains are weak. These are common criticisms lobbed at the arc. So for this video, I want to try and explain why so many of us hold it in such high regard amidst the epic York New and climactic Chimera Ant arcs. Greed Island gives the reader a tonal break between the York New and Chimera Ant arc. It is essential for this arc to be more light as to not make the series too dark and emotionally throbbing. It also helps emphasize the weight of the Chimera Ant arc by having such a drastic tonal shift. It's supposed to serve as a cooldown, but that doesn't mean it doesn't have its own unique function. After Gon and Killua's encounter with the Phantom Troop, it was made clear to the audience that even after all the praise they received for grasping the basics of Nen, they still have much to learn. Gon and Killua had learned the basics, but there were still many layers of Nen left to unpack. This is similar to Gon and Killua and their friendship. In the Hunter exams, Gon and Killua had just become friends and knew next to nothing of the world outside their secluded life. On the tail end of the Hunter exams, both Gon and Killua have Nen experiences but don't know of this mysterious power. This is similar to how they don't know much about each other or the world they live in. In Heaven's Arena, their friendship begins to take shape, and in Greed Island it matures. This is what makes this training arc work so well. It perfectly reflects the development and characterization of not only Gon and Killua, but the power system. It's arguably this arc that plays the biggest role in elevating Gon and Killua's friendship from great to iconic. It's because of their wholesome, intimate friendship that makes their departure so emotional. Togashi has a soft spot in his heart for RPGs and the like, and it was clear he used them as influence when creating this arc. Nen itself has elements akin to an RPG. Players, or rather characters, have their own individual attributes or Nen types, giving them specific affinities. They also have their own special ability, or Hatsu. Even the advanced applications of the basics have RPG elements. Ko is an advanced application of Ten, Ren, Zetsu, Hatsu, and Gyo by which the Nen user concentrates an enormous amount of aura into one specific body part. It exponentially increases the strength of that one body part, but leaves the rest of your body completely vulnerable. It's a risk-reward technique. It's similar to when a fighting type in Pokemon uses a move like Close Combat. Every time you use that powerful move, It drops your defense and special defense stat, making you more vulnerable. The purpose of a training arc is to develop the characters, refine their characterization, and develop the battle system. It should also create or reinforce friendships. The characters have to work together by necessity, so it's the perfect time to create some camaraderie. Greed Island does all of this perfectly. Gon and Killua develop the Nen abilities which perfectly align with their character. This shows that the two characters are growing up on a personal level and understanding themselves as individuals. Gon is a simple boy who slowly finds pleasure in the thrill of action. He's like a gambler, a self-indulged risk-taker. This was first made known to us in the Heavens Arena when he was fighting Guido and breaks his arm. His Nen ability, Jajanken, is one where he focuses all of his Nen into a single strike in hopes of it working out. Rock, paper, or scissors. Guess wrong and you're done for. Guess right and now Gon has lost a ton of Nen and now you have the advantage. It's simple, childish, and reckless, reflecting Gon's character tendencies to a T. Killua's Nen ability is lightning. This was foreshadowed in the Heavens Arena. On the surface, it may seem harmless, if not pretty cool, but the fact that he can even transmute lightning without it hurting himself reflects a childhood of pain and torture. Greed Island showed just how perfectly Gon and Killua's personalities bounce off each other. As I explained, Gon is a naive risk-taker. In contrast, Killua is calculated and cautious. Gon is a source of light and optimism, and Killua is one to keep things grounded. They're two halves of an amazing whole. Their trust in each other grows so much that Gon said he wouldn't allow anyone to hold the ball for him in the dodgeball game besides Killua. Since the Hunter exams, Killua has much developed into his own person, moving away from the strict confines of his family's rule. His relationship with Gon reshaped his beliefs and attitude. It's because of Gon that Killua actively chooses to deny his family's morals. Killua was brought up in a strict family where friends were all but illegal. He meets Gon and befriends him even despite knowing everything Killua has gone through and what he's done. Gon doesn't think beyond what he currently sees, and that's exactly the type of person Killua needed in his life at that moment. Someone who would accept you no matter what. Killua was initially just looking for a good time and maybe have a slight challenge, but we learned that he longs for and eventually cherishes the friendship he has with Gon. He never bonded with anyone the way he and Gon did because it was so diametrically opposed to everything his family stood for. To further prove how much Killua has stepped away from his family, Killua made the conscious effort this arc to actively not kill anyone. Gon has given Killua some meaning, something to strive for. Killua would not have gone back to the Hunter exam to get his license if he was still the person he was before Gon had infused some purpose into him. This influence can be seen after this arc. Gon saved Killua from his family in the exams, and Killua saved Gon in the election. For this training arc, Biscuit is their mentor. Gon and Killua have had many mentors up to this point, but Biscuit stands out among them. A mentor is one who must teach the main character about the world they live in. They generally seek to expose any lie the character may hold to themselves. Mentors exist to nurture the full potential of a character. They're the catalyst of their character arc. A lot of these roles are covered by Kite, but Biscuit has her own importance as well. She exposes their weaknesses and brings out their full potential. She's polishing the jewels that are Gon and Killua. Her cranky, sensitive mom persona also springs off Gon and Killua's dynamic well. Her cranky side fits well with Killua's at times rude behavior, and her sensitive side allows her to form a heartfelt and charming relationship with Gon and Killua. This arc in a lot of ways is the backbone of the very premise of the show. It's about a young boy traversing this mysterious world, having fun, and growing up. Gon and Killua would fight tooth and nail for every card and power-up they received. The Bombers would steal and try and finagle their way around every card. An underlying theme of this arc is trying your damned hardest to get what you want, only to fail. The Bombers kept a double life for 5 years before coming out. He had an intricately orchestrated plan he had been formulating for years, and still failed. This is because, and this may sound banal, the power of hard work and friendship. Everyone who tried to fix things never had friendship. Benault wanted to live a normal life but was always alone. Batera is a rich man who wanted to save his lover through monetary means. He eventually recruited strong hunters to beat the game and use one of the cards to heal her. Unfortunately, this failed. Money and power alone aren't enough. Even the bomber crew, who had carefully curated a plan for 5 years, lost in the end. The bombers were nefarious and cunning, but still lost. The bombers actually had a close bond and were friends among each other, but they were just playing the game the wrong way and for the wrong reasons. They had friendship, but they didn't have hard work. There was also a quiz when someone collected 99 of the 100 cards. So even if Genthu were to collect all of the cards, he would still lose because he cheated and got them through underhanded tactics. This is Togashi telling us to stop using GameShark cheat codes and play fairly. Genthu gets a lot of hate for being a one-note villain, and I agree that he's far less striking than all of the other villains in the series. If I'm being honest, I think he's even overshadowed by the presence of Razor. But I think that was the point. If you look at villains in a vacuum, then absolutely Genthu is a terrible villain in comparison to Chrollo, Hisoka, and Meruem. But it's not fair to look at villains in a vacuum. We have to acknowledge how they're entwined with what the narrative is trying to say. Genthu is a bad guy. He uses underhanded tactics in order to win. He doesn't play to have fun or learn, he's just playing for greed. This makes him an excellent foil to Gon. This also inadvertently made Gon and Killua's training arc more thematically striking. They have to prove now that their hard work will ultimately win in the end. Genthu doesn't even get as much screen time as the other villains. The arc was clearly geared more towards Gon and Killua's adventure. So with all of that being said, I think Genthu was exactly what he needed to be. Friendship was a big part of this arc. I know we're frequently lectured about this theme a lot throughout Shonen, but I think it's more important to understand the distinction between how things are done compared to what is done. Yes, this arc and, well, this entire series honestly is about friendship, but they portray it in such a meaningful, palpable way that it still ends up being effective. Hunter x Hunter is a shonen through and through. I don't believe it's trying to not be shonen. It isn't a deconstruction of everything shonen. It's ironically because of its strong shonen core that makes any subversive elements you might find ring all the more strongly. It's this friendship between Gon and Killua that stands out as one of the most iconic aspects of the show, and this arc really goes to prove why. Finding Jing is the main plot point weaving the entire narrative together. Greed Island was designed by Jing as a way to train Gon. He leaves many checkpoints along the way to ensure this. Gon's training was cut short as the situation with the bombers ramped up. He was still able to defeat them, but it wasn't without the help of the game and his friends. After the situation was taken care of, he tries to meet Jing prematurely and isn't allowed to. The narrative reason for this is that Jing rigged it. But the thematic meaning behind this is that Gon wasn't strong enough to meet Jing yet. Jing set it up in a way that if he came by himself, it would take him directly to him. But if Gon came with a friend, he would go to Kite. This can be attributed to his stubborn and somewhat aloof nature, but this may be a thematically underhanded way to tell the audience that if Gon isn't strong enough, he doesn't deserve to meet his dad. It's no coincidence that Gon ends up beating the game and defeating Genthu using the superior knowledge of the game that he had acquired, and not his mastery of Nen. It was as though Gon was an underleveled Charmander going up against Brock and his Onyx, or an undertrained Lucas on his way to fight Cynthia and her Garchomp. He couldn't win outright and had to use a couple hyper potions and full restores in order to win. Gon and Killua training is like you going through the wild grass and leveling up your team. Their battle against Razor was like a mid-game boss, and Genthu was the final boss. This arc was a great way to set Gon and Killua up into the Chimera Ant arc. This arc showed how strong Gon and Killua are together, but they also must learn to be strong by themselves. Gon is naive and oblivious to some of the true dangers of this mystical world. He hadn't experienced loss or grief. Killua is more antiquated with this side of the world due to his upbringing, but he's still unfamiliar with the pain and anguish of losing a friend. They won the game, but they still had so much more they needed to learn. It's because of Greed Island and what was established there that made the Chimera Ant and Election arcs evoke such a poignant response through what seemed to be the entire anime community. It's through those events that gave their friendship even more resolve. A training arc focused on developing the core and soul of the show whilst enriching the battle system is a daunting objective. Greed Island does all of this and showed it was simply the perfect grounds to assign such an important task. And this is why I believe Greed Island is the most underrated arc in Hunter x Hunter. Thanks for watching.